Losties, and welcome to Freckles and Blondie, the Lost podcast where we discuss all the craziness that is the television show Lost. I'm Randy.
I'm Tiffany.
And today we are discussing episode 7 of season 2, The Other 48 Days. This episode originally aired on November 16th, 2005. And it was directed by Eric Laneuville?
Sure.
Yeah, not really sure how you pronounce that one, but...
We haven't had him before, have we?
I don't think so.
Because
no,
we would have remembered not being able to say his name.
Yeah.
What an episode to come in on. It's such a weird format for Lost.
Yeah, it definitely stands out.
It's like, welcome.
This episode was written by none other than Carlton Cuse and Damon Lindelof.
Dun, 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 dun.
Which, yeah, I guess shouldn't be that surprising to me because I've always loved this episode, but it kind of was because they just wrote the episode 5 for this season. So
yeah, it surprised me because I've never liked this episode. So I was like, oh wow. But, you know, at the same time, it does reveal a lot about the overall story and what's going on. So it makes sense that it would be the two of them.
Yeah, it does. So I take it from that you did not enjoy this episode.
Not really. There were like moments that I enjoyed, but I've just never been hot on this episode. I always feel like there's just not much here that couldn't have been told to me, you know, through some quick exposition. You know, like in that last episode when Ana Lucia says, you know, 9 people were stolen and then they stole more. Like that was creepy, and I liked the way we had that kind of mystery and not quite knowing what had happened to them.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of like that ambiguousness more than I like seeing it.
Interesting. Okay.
Like, I just didn't need to see it. She gave you the gist of it, you know? But I do like Echo's story and kind of watching him go through all this. But yeah, other than that, I feel like it would have been better for them to have just told us about it.
Wow. I completely disagree.
I figured you would.
I think this episode is great. I think it's well written. I feel like we learn a lot about not only Echo, but Ana Lucia. And I kind of like that because the frustrating thing about this episode, the only thing I find frustrating about it is that, you know, last week's episode ends on such a cliffhanger.
Yeah.
And then we get this episode that doesn't really, you know, advance the storyline any, doesn't tell us what happened, you know, after Shannon's death.
Mm-hmm.
But I actually, watching it this time, I really like that we get this episode before we get the fallout from next week. Because, I mean, for me, by the time I get to the end of this episode, I feel like seeing what Ana Lucia and that whole group went through, I feel bad for her. Like, I feel a lot worse for her.
Yeah.
So I think it's like having that like conflict, it's not so black and white. I think it's going to make next week like super interesting. And I don't think we would have gotten that if we hadn't, you know, seen this episode first.
Yeah. I think it definitely makes Ana Lucia more sympathetic, which is important going into next week. I just, like, I thought that cliffhanger feeling was why I didn't like this episode. Because I do remember, like, when it aired and feeling like, oh my god, we're not even going to deal with this, you know? Like,
right,
I need to know what happened.
Yeah.
But I thought, okay, in rewatching this, maybe that was what made me feel like I didn't like this episode, but I don't think it was. I just didn't. This episode is very expositional. You know, it's very plot oriented. It's not super thematic, you know. We're not asking a lot of philosophical questions in this episode, so I think maybe that's part of why it's just not one of my favorites.
Yeah, that's interesting. I don't agree. That's so funny.
I feel very alone. I pulled Instagram and like clear majority enjoy this episode. I think it was like 71% like this episode. I don't. I think another part of it is I just miss our main characters. I miss our cast. Like these people still kind of feel like strangers to me, even though I've seen the whole show. Like they always just don't feel like the characters I love, so I just don't care.
Yeah, I mean, that's fair. To me, it kind of feels like it's like this mini movie.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I just like how different it is from all the other episodes that we've had up until this point.
It is really different. It is the first episode where we don't get the kind of back and forth flashback thing.
Yeah.
So it's a very jarring departure from our standard format and our standard characters. So I feel like you're going to feel strongly about this episode either way. Like you might think, oh, this is really awesome and refreshing. Or you're like me and you're like, take me home, please.
Yeah, I don't know. I just feel like it's so well written that, I don't know, it's so, maybe it's just me. Like I've said this before, at this point in the season, I'm already dying to know like more details about what happened to the tailies. Even though we got Ana Lucia's, little speech about they came, they took this many of us, like I still want to know all the details.
Yeah.
And I just feel like just the way it builds tension and there's some surprises that come up that are, I don't know, it's just really good.
Yeah. I mean, I think the stuff with Goodwin is really good. So
yeah.
I get why you like it.
So yeah, should we get into it?
We could if you want to.
Okay. I mean, that is what we're here for, so.
All right. I guess I don't have anything else going on.
All right, cool. So, no previously on this week. We open with a serene picture of the beach, which is violently interrupted by the tail section of the plane crashing into the ocean. It's day 1, and everything is in chaos. The survivors are struggling to make it to shore. Ana Lucia and Mr. Echo both help people get to the beach. Echo pulls a little boy from the water and goes back for his sister who's drowning. Ana Lucia gives her CPR, and she wakes up and asks where her mom is. She was supposed to meet them in Los Angeles. Ana Lucia promises they'll be home soon, and we cut to the title scene.
It's such a good first scene.
It is. It's really well done.
It is. I like that peaceful shot, and it's so slow, like the crash.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like you hear this sound in the distance that slowly gets louder and louder and louder until it crashes in the ocean. It's great.
Yeah, it's really nice. It's a really good callback to the pilot and kind of mirroring what happened there with what's happening here. And instead of focusing on Jack running around, helping everybody, we have Ana Lucia and Echo. And I feel like they're kind of our main people who are really, stepping up and helping everybody around them.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
Did you notice that Echo's suit looks exactly like Jack's?
Yeah, I did notice that. It's like eerily similar, right?
Yeah. I've never noticed that before.
Yeah, I always forget that he even wears a suit because whenever I think of Echo, I think of him like shirtless with like, a huge weapon in his hands. So
yes, exactly. Which is just, it's so interesting. It's like we have this kind of civilized Echo, and then throughout this episode, he just kind of slowly morphs, and he even slowly sheds his clothes. Like, he'll lose one piece at a time. And he's my favorite part of this episode. Because I just find him so fascinating. Of course, because he's their lock.
Of course. Yeah, I mean, he's definitely intriguing throughout this whole thing.
Yeah. And Ana Lucia is really great too. She's so compassionate and looking out for everyone. She's so sweet to those kids.
Yeah, she really is. Shouldn't have made that promise to that little girl, but you know.
Yeah, probably not.
Yeah.
Lesson learned.
Mm-hmm. Mr. Echo asks Sydney to look after the children, one of whom is holding a teddy bear. He says there's something he has to do and starts to pull the bodies from the water. Libby helps a man with a broken leg. She tells Ana Lucia she's a clinical psychologist, but she did a year of med school before she dropped out. A man, who we later find out is Goodwin, comes running from the jungle, calling for help. Ana Lucia follows him, and they find Bernard sitting in an airplane seat stuck in a tree. He's freaking out, but Ana Lucia takes over. She tells him to grab the tree branch next to him. He does, just in time, as the airplane seat crashes to the ground. So, I feel like Bernard is so lucky. Like, I don't know how he survived the crash, especially when the guy next to him, is dead.
Yeah. Yeah, I hadn't thought about that.
It's just, he is high up in that tree, so.
He really did luck out, and
yeah,
that seat landed pretty perfectly.
Mm-hmm.
But
it did.
I do really love Ana Lucia in that scene and seeing how capable she is.
Yeah, there's just no hesitation from her. She clearly knows what she's doing in situations of chaos like this.
Yeah, she's assertive and confident. When Goodwin is kind of like all over the place, she's like, nope, Bernard, do this.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what you need when everything is going absolutely
yeah.
crazy.
Yeah.
I also really loved that scene with Libby, where she was healing that guy and fixing his leg because she has some pro bedside manner. She is just like talking and joking and distracting this guy.
Yeah.
In just the perfect way. And then also talking to Ana Lucia at the same time. Like, she's just doing everything. So I just found Libby really impressive.
Yeah, she's also very calm.
Yeah, super calm. Like, she is smiling and not concerned at all that they were just in a plane crash.
I know. If this was me, I'd be like curled up in a ball crying. Like, I wouldn't be able to help anyone else, I don't think.
Yeah. Yeah, she handles it like a champ.
Yeah, she does.
She, Ana Lucia, and Echo are quite the power trio here.
Yeah, they've got everything under control.
They really do. For now.
Yeah. Till it all goes horribly, horribly wrong. Later on, Goodwin is trying to light a fire. He tells Ana Lucia he was a member of the Peace Corps, and the two introduce themselves. That night, Bernard finds Echo sitting by the fire. He asks if any of the dead bodies that he pulled from the water were African American. Echo says no, and Bernard tells him he can't find his wife. Mr. Echo says he'll pray for her and for the rescue planes that have not yet shown up.
He's so sweet.
Yeah, he is. And poor Bernard.
Exactly. I just love the way he says that. My wife, I can't find her. He just seems so wrecked.
Yeah. Sad.
I always find it kind of interesting that Rose on one side of the island is completely confident that Bernard is okay. And on the other side, he is just so worried. And he doesn't have that same, like, awareness, I guess, or connection, or what. I mean, I don't want to say he's not connected to Rose, but I guess he doesn't have that same faith that she does.
Right, that faith in things that normal people wouldn't have faith in.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's an interesting contrast, definitely.
Much harder to be Bernard.
Yeah. That night, everyone wakes up to the sounds of grunting coming from the jungle. Ana Lucia and Goodwin go check it out. They find Echo, bloody, clutching a rock, and standing over two dead bodies. So yeah, this is crazy.
It's a very visceral scene. Like, to see him standing there with his white shirt covered in blood. And
Yeah.
he looks, kind of scared, but kind of horrified. And I feel like right away I can tell that he's not horrified at what happened to him. He's horrified at what he did.
Yeah, that's true. You can definitely tell by looking at his face.
Yeah, and it's just like the way he looks at the rock in his hand that he used to kill these guys. You can tell he's just uncomfortable with this, and this is not who he is.
Right. Yeah, it's scary. It's day 2. While observing the bodies, Ana Lucia notices they have no shoes, no labels on their clothes, and no wallets. A guy named Nathan comes up and tells her that 3 people are missing. In the background, a now silent Echo chooses a large stick for himself. Ana Lucia wants to move off the beach, but Nathan objects, saying they need to keep the signal fire burning so they can be rescued. Cindy confirms this, telling everyone that the pilot lost communications and they were flying for 2 hours in the wrong direction. The rescuers won't know where to look.
So this is interesting how we kind of have the same themes going on here that we saw with our survivors, where they're having the same struggles. Like, do we keep the signal fire burning? Do we go inland, or do we stay on the beach? We need water. They're having all the same problems.
Yeah. Except the tailies, it's for drastically different reasons. Like, they're trying to, protect themselves and get away from these people who are kidnapping them.
Yeah, it's like heightened.
Yeah.
Like, they were living the fairy tale life over on our side of the island.
Yeah. That's another thing I love about this episode. Because I feel like up until this point, on the other side of the island, it's like, oh, they're on a desert island, like, this obviously sucks. But man, they had it great compared to the tailies. Like,
right? They've got stuff. They've got a golf course.
Right. They've got Locke and his boar hunting skills, and Jin with his fishing skills.
Weapons.
They have, exactly, the weapons. They have, their whole half of the plane and the fuselage, which they use to, build shelters and 2 rafts. Like, the tailies don't have any of this stuff.
Yeah. Which, explains why things turn so chaotic for them so much quicker.
Yeah.
This is Lord of the Flies, for real, over here.
Exactly. Yeah.
It was a joke on the other side of the island, basically. But here it's for real, and, Echo is pushed to his limit right away. And, we see it. We see it affect him. We see him covered in blood, and just this kind of, he's really forced into this savagery that he doesn't want to be a part of.
Yeah, and you could argue the same for Ana Lucia later. I mean, she also ends up killing 2 people in this episode, so.
Yeah, definitely. And I like her, I like her leadership. She's clearly a good leader, and nobody questions her authority at all.
Nope. She fits into the role really, really well.
Yeah. What do you think it is that makes her the leader?
I don't know. She has such a quiet confidence about her.
Quiet.
Maybe not quiet. Maybe that's the wrong word.
No, I think you're right. She is definitely so confident.
Yeah. I don't know how else to describe it, but she's just so capable.
Yeah. And she's, surprisingly good at listening to people. In this scene in particular, this feels like a conversation. Libby and Nathan are kind of throwing in their ideas, Cindy, and they're just making a decision together, but at the same time, Ana Lucia is at the reins.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, it's funny to compare her with, Jack's leadership and
Yeah, I was trying to think, like, what is the difference between them? Because Ana Lucia is, like, I think she's notably unpopular. You know, a lot of people don't like her. I think more people like Jack than Ana Lucia.
Uh-huh.
So why is that?
I think she's more abrasive. Don't you think? Like, she's more in your face about it.
Yeah, I mean, I think personally for me, it's just those little moments where she doesn't have compassion. Where she's yelling at Jen for speaking Korean.
Yeah.
Or wanting to leave Sawyer behind to die.
Yeah.
And you're like, I get it. I get that you're scared. I get that you want to save your people and protect the most people that you can, but we're not all going to agree with a utilitarian outlook.
Yeah, I think it's, like I said earlier, I think it's more understandable after watching the events of this episode.
Mm-hmm.
Because, I mean, this whole episode, it's really like, it's like a horror movie almost. Like, it's truly awful and scary. So,
yeah.
I'm not saying that's an excuse for some of the things she's said and done, but I definitely understand her a little bit more.
Yeah.
On day 3, Libby comes up to Ana Lucia and tells her the guy with the broken leg probably isn't going to make it, and he'll be the 4th to go. Ana Lucia doesn't have a good answer for Libby. It's day 5. The Tailies gather and bury Donald, who obviously didn't make it. Day 7, and everyone comes together and manages to catch a chicken. The food situation is clearly getting desperate. Echo is sitting alone, carving his stick. Libby approaches and offers him some food. She says he hasn't spoken in almost a week and that what happened wasn't his fault. He was only defending himself. Echo doesn't say anything.
That is so many people on this island's problem, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like they were just put into this horrible situation and they just feel so crappy afterward.
Yeah, he should join the club.
Yeah. It's funny, I thought about Rose and how she wasn't really speaking to anybody and how Jack had to come sit with her on the beach.
Yeah, that's true. That's a good contrast.
For such different reasons, though.
Yeah, fair. But yeah, I also, again, we were saying earlier about how the people on the other side of the island have it so much easier. I forget if it's in this scene or not, but Ana Lucia is like cutting the arms off her jacket to like make it more, I guess, easy to wear. But it's like, oh yeah, they don't even have their luggage. Like they've all been wearing the same clothes for 48 days.
Yeah. Which is why Echo has no other clothes when he has to lose his shirt.
Yeah, but I remember like, so the first time we saw Libby, like she's wearing that dress, I'm like, gosh, that thing is so dirty. Like, why hasn't she taken that off and like washed it or something or changed her clothes? It's like they don't have that option.
Yeah.
Oh, it's rough. I wouldn't have survived these 48 days. No.
I'm gonna have to start dressing differently when I go on airplanes.
Yes, prepare for the plane crash that could happen.
Yeah, I feel like I'm not really thinking ahead. I just kind of, wear whatever, but I need to be picking something a little more practical just in case.
Yeah. Be prepared. It's day 12 and Ana Lucia is crafting some kind of weapon. She tells Goodwin that she thought she heard some kind of pig in the jungle. The kids are playing in the background. Nathan comes out of the jungle, and when Ana Lucia questions him, he said he went to the bathroom. She reminds him they have a system for that, and after some intense staring, Nathan apologizes. That night, the others come back and take a bunch more people, including the kids. Ana Lucia tries to go after them and ends up killing one of the others. She searches her clothes and finds a knife and a list of names. It's the 9 people they took. Which, okay, my first question after watching this scene was, didn't they think to set up some kind of watch after the first night when the others came and stole 3 people?
Yeah.
I mean,
that's
maybe
a good point.
Yeah, maybe that wouldn't have made a difference, but I mean, they appear to all be like completely knocked out of sleep.
Yeah,
So-
they're all asleep. The others are just standing around them, staring at them sleep.
Yeah.
Yeah, it seems like having a guard would have prevented this.
Maybe it's just because I'm reading Game of Thrones right now, and in those books, like, no one goes to sleep anywhere without some kind of guard set up. Like, it's just not unheard of. So I'm like, come on, guys.
on our side of the island, our survivors put up a guard system when Claire was getting attacked. Like,
Yeah,
they weren't messing around.
I know.
And I mean, I don't see why they wouldn't do this.
Yeah, I don't either.
But yeah, this list, what did you make of the list?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. I feel like at this point I'm dying to know how the others choose the people they take. Like, I know Goodwin kind of says some stuff about this later on, but it's like they clearly like kids. They tried to take Echo, but that didn't work. They don't take Sydney right now, but they take her later on. It's interesting.
Yeah. I am always kind of confused by the others and how I'm supposed to perceive them, because I feel like we get mixed messages, and on purpose I think we get those mixed messages, but we have like the kind of wild jungleistic others who, you know, walk through the jungle completely without tracks, and you know, we see their dirty feet and their raggedy clothes. And then we have this list with everyone's name on it, and, you know, just the fact that their names are on a piece of paper, you know, that doesn't seem like islanders.
Right.
And, you know, later Ana Lucia will get that knife. Actually, she gets it right now, right?
Yeah, she takes it off the body she killed.
And that knife is clearly, you know, something that shouldn't be on, you know, some wild native. So we've got all these clues that, you know, one of these messages does not belong.
Yeah. Yeah, that's so true. I mean, they must want the people they're taking so badly. Because at this point, he killed 2 of them. Ana Lucia's killed 1. And then, you know, on the other side of the island, Ethan also ends up dying. I don't know, like, this is probably too early. Ethan's probably still alive, but it's like they're losing people while they're kidnapping.
Yeah.
You know, it's like they have got to want these people like so badly for something. I don't know what, but.
Yes. And why did they want Echo? That always confuses me.
Yeah. I don't know. It could be like what Goodwin says later. They were trying to take out the potential threats early on.
Yeah, maybe, but it's just weird because that doesn't coincide with the other people they take. You know?
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess you can get rid of the threats so that you can take the other people who you actually want, but what are they doing with those people who are the threats?
It's so interesting. I love how they just give us all these little hints slowly.
Yeah. Yeah, it's confusing, but in a good way.
Yeah. Coming back, Echo comes back from the jungle empty-handed. Apparently the others didn't leave any trail behind. Ana Lucia is frustrated by Echo's continuing silence. Nathan tells her to calm down, but she says the others had a list of everyone they took, including names, what they looked like, and what they were wearing. She suspiciously asks Nathan why he was gone for 2 hours yesterday, but Goodwin tells them to stop. Libby suggests leaving the beach since they're clearly being watched, and Goodwin agrees, telling Ana Lucia to let the signal fire go out.
So what was Nathan doing for 2 hours?
I don't know. Good question.
That bugs me.
Yeah, I mean, in my mind, I'm just like, oh, he was probably being, like, sick somewhere. And that's why he was gone that long.
So you think he's just completely telling the truth? He was using the bathroom?
Yeah, what do you think he was doing?
I don't know. I just think 2 hours? Who can use the bathroom for 2 hours? That's crazy.
Yeah. I don't know. Again, I'm just like, he ate some sketchy, whatever food they're eating at this point. He was just being sick and he didn't want anyone to see him like that.
Yeah, I mean, it's totally possible. I feel like that happened to Hurley, so
Yeah.
it's not crazy. But I just always wondered, like, was he doing something else? Or
What else could he have been doing?
I don't know. I don't know, and I don't know why he would lie about it if he was. So I guess that's what he's doing, but dang, 2 hours. Sounds painful.
Yeah, he was probably super embarrassed.
But I like Goodwin telling Ana Lucia we're all scared, but let's not get paranoid.
Yeah.
Because, while we shouldn't really be trusting Goodwin's word, after seeing this episode and knowing who he is right in this moment because that is Ana Lucia's problem. She is scared and paranoid.
Yeah.
And we see that in this episode. We saw it in, the past few episodes. She shoots Shannon because she is boiling over with fear and completely paranoid.
Yeah, but again, after watching this episode, I don't know if I would have done anything different if I had been her with that gun in that situation and all this other stuff had happened.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this whole episode is so scary. Like,
yeah.
it's terrifying.
Yep, it makes sense. And that's the best way to do this is to give her every good reason why she would have done this.
Yeah. Oh, it's such good writing. I love it. Day 15, and the Tailies are moving on from the beach. They stop by a stream, and Ana Lucia tells everyone they have 5 minutes. However, they've been walking for 3 days straight, and Nathan isn't going anywhere. Ana Lucia agrees that this new spot will work. Day 17, and Ana Lucia is digging a large pit. Libby tells her that she's suspicious of Nathan. He creeps her out. She responds, "Why do you think I'm digging this hole?"
Paranoid.
Yeah. Yeah, Nathan is acting so shady though. Like,
he is, and Libby seems to have such a good read on people.
Yes.
For her to say this, it really does make me wonder about him and what his deal is.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, I'm so suspicious of him and his motives and who he really is.
Yeah, and then, in hindsight, after watching, I'm still kind of like, what is your deal? Like, why are you acting so weird? And, if they had given him any sort of little line of explanation, I feel like that would have helped. Maybe even if he had said something to Goodwin when Goodwin lets him out later.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I feel like he's just awkward and it comes off as weird. But it's like, yeah, if I was in this situation and people were suspicious of me, I would be telling them, like, everything I could about myself, about my life off the island to convince them.
Right. Exactly. He doesn't answer any of their questions, and
I
don't see why you wouldn't.
This is a serious situation. People have died. Like,
yeah, they have good reason to be afraid and distrustful.
Yeah.
And I would like to know what it is that creeps Libby out. What did he say to her?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know.
He is such a huge red herring, and I can't decide if I like that or not. It almost feels a little unfair because it's unmotivated. I want, like, a real reason for him to act this weird. Like, Ethan is super weird, and then we find out he's an other, and we're like, oh, okay, well, that makes sense. And I think we're supposed to think the same thing about Nathan. Like, he's acting super weird.
Yeah, yeah.
But, when we find out he wasn't another, we need something to kind of fill that gap to tell us why he was acting so weird.
Yeah, I mean, that's true. I can definitely see why you would want that. For me, like, in my mind, I just read it off. I'm like, oh, he was just an awkward human being that didn't really know how to talk to people and relate to people. And it comes off as, like, super creepy in this situation. Whereas, like, in the real world, it would just be, like, super socially awkward. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but I just feel like Libby should see through that.
Yeah.
You know, she sees through Sawyer's crap in 30 seconds of meeting him.
That's fair.
Just expect better of Libby.
The other great thing about this episode is we're getting the Taily story in one episode as opposed to the 24 episodes we got about the other survivors, like in the same amount of time.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, obviously we're only getting the really crucial parts of the story. And I don't know. I just think it's, like, really engaging.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I think maybe that's actually part of what I don't like about it.
Really?
Yeah, because to me it just feels like we don't get to dig deep into anything. It's just kind of like bam, bam, bam. It just feels, I don't know, choppy. And I think it's supposed to feel kind of like that in a breathless, oh my god, what's going to happen next kind of way, but I just personally don't really respond to it.
Yeah. I don't know. It's like we're not wasting any time. We're only talking about the things that are super important to what's going on.
Right. Yeah. And see, I would rather be getting, like, lovely little character moments, because that's just what I like. But, you know, at the same time, it's not like I would have wanted to spend more time here. So.
I was going to say, did you want, like, 5 episodes on their story?
No, but I would have loved, like, you know, Echo telling this story to Locke. I feel like the way he told the story would have been so interesting. And then to hear that same story told by Ana Lucia to Jack, you know, that would have been really interesting.
Yeah. I guess.
It's not the same as seeing it.
Yeah. It's day 19, and Nathan and Bernard are setting up rabbit traps. Ana Lucia walks up, promptly drop kicks Nathan in the face, and puts him in the newly dug pit. She tells Nathan they're going to have a little talk. She tells the other Tailies that she doesn't remember seeing Nathan on the plane, and Cindy doesn't either. Libby says Nathan never talks about himself. Bernard thinks this is crazy, and when Ana Lucia asks Echo if he has a problem with this, he stays silent. That night, Ana Lucia questions Nathan. He says he was on a company retreat in Australia and that he's Canadian, but she doesn't believe him.
So, does this make you think of anything else that happens with our people? I feel so possessive of them. They're our people.
Not immediately. What does it make you think of?
This whole thing makes me think of torturing Sawyer. And, you know, Ana Lucia's like, we have to do this to get the information, and other people are like, dude, this is not okay. This is not morally right. But, you know, she's got her objective, and this is how she's going to deal with it.
Yeah, I mean, there are definite similarities. At this point, I don't think this is the worst way to find out the truth. Like, it's not like they're holding a gun to his head.
Mm-hmm.
At this point. I mean, there's stuff that's mentioned later.
No, but she's trying to starve him.
Yeah, I didn't think she was doing that at this point. So, like, when she throws him in the pit, I'm like, yeah, that's fair. He's sketchy and they need to know what's going on. So.
You're Team Pit.
But yeah, the starving him thing, yeah, that's definitely questionable. Cause they don't,
I mean, cut his fingers off.
Yeah, that's when they take it too far.
Right.
For sure. Cause they don't know. I mean, Cindy is saying, like, I don't remember seeing him either. And Libby's like, he creeps me out. But, like, I mean, they're not sure. They're
these are not definitive things.
Yeah.
You know, like, in a court of law, we would toss this case, okay, Ana Lucia?
Yeah, that's another reason why I love this episode, because, like you said, it's such a Lord of the Flies situation. Like, this is what would happen if the world was ending and there weren't any cops, there weren't any judges, there weren't any juries. Like, this is how this group has decided to deal with the situation they have.
Yep.
So it's fascinating. Day 23, and Ana Lucia is still questioning Nathan. She asks him where the kids are, but he doesn't respond. She finds him hiding a banana peel and gets pissed, telling the other tailies that she's trying to figure out what happened and giving Nathan food isn't helping. She accuses Bernard, but he denies it and tells her that they could be wrong. It turns out Mr. Echo gave him the food, but even Ana Lucia isn't badass enough to confront him about it.
I don't even know if he really gave him the food or if he just took the blame for Bernard.
I mean, fair. The way he looked at her, I kind of felt like, oh, it was definitely him.
Yeah, I couldn't decide if it was that or if he was like judging her for the way she was acting and kind of like disagreeing with this decision to put Nathan in the hole. He just like, he exudes judgment here.
Yeah, it's true. I feel like he exudes like, yeah, I did it. What are you going to do about it? Like,
yeah, I'm not sure.
Who knows?
I don't think you can really tell either way.
Yeah, it's all in how you read it.
Yeah, but either way, he either gave the food or he is protecting Bernard, and I like both of those actions from him.
Yeah.
So I'm happy with either one.
Goodwin finds Ana Lucia later and says they're all worried about her. She's had Nathan down in the pit for 4 days. She says she made a promise to the little girl to get her home. He asks her if she has kids, and she replies no. Goodwin tells her they should let him go, and they're not savages. She says if they were savages, she would have cut Nathan's finger off, but that's for tomorrow. That night, Goodwin lowers a rope down to Nathan, pulls him from the pit, and tells him he needs to get out of here. As Nathan is walking away, Goodwin snaps his neck, killing him. I love this twist so much.
It's a good twist. I just don't like the way they do it.
What do you mean?
It just doesn't make any sense to me that Goodwin would pull him up, give him this explanation, like, to get Nathan's sympathy, like, oh, I think Ana Lucia is going to hurt you, so I'm going to help you. And he's like, oh, cool. Where's the beach? And he's like, it's over there. You have to go this way. And then he breaks Nathan's neck. I'm like, why did you have that conversation?
I think it's because he needed Nathan to walk away from him.
What do you mean?
Like, maybe he wasn't confident that he could, if he pulled Nathan up, he could just immediately break his neck. Like, he needed Nathan to be completely trusting in him and to turn away from him and be walking away before he could kill him. You know?
Oh,
maybe?
Like he just physically needed him to turn around?
Yeah.
Oh.
In order to make sure that Nathan, didn't attack him and possibly injure him or kill Goodwin.
I don't know. I hadn't even thought about that because he just like grabs his neck and twists so fast. It's just really immediate. But yeah, that totally explains it.
That's how I read it, but I mean, that's just me. I don't know.
See, I thought they were just trying to lull us into this false sense of security and then be like, boom, watch this. And it just felt weird to me.
Yeah, I don't know. Cause like Nathan and Goodwin are pretty similar in like size and stature.
Mm-hmm.
And Goodwin obviously at this point, he doesn't have any weapons. So I feel like, to keep up his charade and to make sure that, Nathan was going to be, was going to end up dead at the end of this, he needed to get his trust just for a little bit and to have him be walking away.
Yeah.
Cause I mean, Nathan knows that he's not an other.
Right.
So maybe Goodwin's thinking, oh, Nathan must be thinking that one of us is the other. And maybe he's thinking like he might suspect Goodwin. So. Mm-hmm.
Yep. That totally makes sense.
I don't know.
I'm going to go with that.
Okay. But yeah, it's such a good surprise.
Yeah, it is.
Especially because in a couple episodes ago when Jin and Echo found Goodwin in the jungle and Jin just said like, was this the others? And Echo just not. So.
Right.
It just comes out of nowhere.
Yeah. And it's nice because Ana Lucia really placed her trust in Goodwin. And I don't know why she places her trust so quickly in him, but I guess why not?
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like he plays his part very well.
He does.
He gives off a trustworthy vibe to me.
Well, he's good at knowing when to agree with her and when to disagree.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Day 24, and Ana Lucia wakes up to find Goodwin staring at her.
Creepy.
Which is, super creepy.
All right, red flag time, okay?
Yeah, so many red flags. Cindy tells everyone Nathan is gone, and they find the pit empty. Ana Lucia tells everyone they're moving out. The others have found them. Day 26 shows them walking along the water. So yeah, that's it.
That's what happens.
It's day 27, and the Tailies find a door. They go inside to find their very own hatch, albeit not quite as fancy as Desmond's setup.
It's not an actual hatch unless there's a record player.
Yeah, and like a library with books and stuff.
Yes.
The Dharma logo is on the wall, and the hatch has electricity. They find a box with a Bible, a glass eye, and a radio.
That glass eye. What in the hell?
Yeah. Super weird.
I'm very confused by that. But I love them finding the Bible. Rather, I love Echo finding the Bible.
Yeah.
And you just quietly see him in the background, picking it up, and he holds it so carefully, and you can just tell that this means a lot to him.
Yeah. It's definitely very important to him. Yeah, that actor is great who plays him.
Yeah.
I forget his name, but he's awesome.
In this episode in particular, because he doesn't have a lot to say, he's just doing a lot of really subtle stuff.
Yeah.
It's all very physical.
Mm-hmm. Bernard tries the radio, but Goodwin says they need to get to higher ground in order for it to work. He wants to go alone, but Ana Lucia insists on accompanying him. As they're hiking, she wonders why the others are kidnapping them. Goodwin suggests that the first night they took the strongest people, the ones who could be potential threats. She points out that they didn't take Goodwin. They take a break, and Goodwin asks Ana Lucia for the knife to cut up some fruit. She points out that the knife is U.S. military, almost 20 years old. As the tension rises, she asks him how he found Bernard up in the tree, and accuses Goodwin of pretending to be one of the Tailies. She says he wasn't even wet when he ran out of the jungle. Goodwin drops the pretense and tells Ana Lucia she would have started to believe Nathan after she cut his finger off. He says Nathan wasn't on the list because he wasn't a good person. Ana Lucia asks about the kids, and he says the children are fine. They're better off now. Ana Lucia attacks Goodwin. They fight, and she kills him with a pointed stick to the chest. When she comes back, the others ask her where Goodwin is, and she responds that they're safe now.
Okay, so what tipped Ana Lucia off?
Good question.
What changed? This is what I don't understand. She lists a lot of things, like, him finding Bernard in the jungle, about him being dry when everyone else came out of the ocean and they were soaking wet. If you noticed all this stuff from the beginning, like, why were you so focused on Nathan in the first place?
Yeah, but I feel like she didn't notice all that in the beginning. I feel like maybe it was just, like, very little things. Like when she wakes up that morning that Nathan is gone and Goodwin's staring at her. Like, I feel like after Nathan is gone and they all just assume one of the others came and let him out, I feel like she just has this little nagging doubt in her. And then as they're traveling across the island, she starts seeing all these little things, and she just gets this vibe from him, and then puts it all together.
But why? Like, what little things is she seeing now? Because everything she references is stuff from the very beginning. Like, I wish Goodwin had done something really suspicious in between letting Nathan go and now. Or, killing Nathan, not letting him go.
Yeah, I like that he didn't, though, because he's an other, and they're such good liars, or at least he's a really good liar.
Yeah, which makes sense. It just doesn't make sense to me why Ana Lucia would have figured it out. She doesn't reference anything that, didn't happen at the start.
Yeah, I don't think it's anything new. It's just like, I feel like it's this nagging doubt once Nathan is gone. And it's just this vibe that she's getting from him. This creepy vibe. And that's how she's getting this vibe from him. And then she's thinking like, oh, what about, he wasn't wet when he came out of the jungle. Like, I feel like when she gets this vibe, she goes back in her head and like reviews every conversation she's ever had with Goodwin.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know why that would jump out at you as an observation, but then you like put it on the back burner and then pull it out again later. I feel like if I don't notice it the first time, or if I notice it the first time, it's because it strikes me. And for her to like only think about it later, I'm like, that's just not how your brain works. You don't recall an unimportant memory. You recall things that you thought were weird at the time.
Yeah, I don't know. I disagree. I think if someone who you've known for a long time is giving you a creepy vibe, then you can go back in your head and kind of review all the interactions you've had with them, and some of the things that you never would have thought were suspicious can just be like red flags once you review it all.
Yeah, I can definitely see that happening. I think it's the wet and dry thing that seems like so obvious, for her to have missed at the time.
I guess. I mean, I never would have picked up on that, but...
Yeah, I mean...
Who would have picked up on that? Like, it was so chaotic at the beach. The plane had just crashed.
I can see as a viewer not picking up on it, but if that was really happening to you and everyone else is drenched and some guy is like perfectly dry, I think that would be weird. I feel like I would notice that.
Yeah, but again, in that situation, would you? When you're pulling dead bodies from the water and things are absolutely insane?
I mean, if I'm alone with him in the jungle looking for Bernard, yes. I think I would notice. Like, if I'm dripping wet and this other person I'm with is dry.
But it's like you're not even focused on him. You're focused on Bernard. You're not really even looking at him.
I guess my whole issue is I just don't feel like there's a clear turning point for this turn on Goodwin. And I guess it makes sense what you're saying, that she just had a vibe and it's just instinctual. And, Ana Lucia does seem to have good instincts, so that does make sense. But I don't know, it just feels weird and unmotivated to me. But other than that, it's a really good scene.
Yeah, I mean...
It's really tense, it's a
my
very
favorite.
Stressful scene to watch.
Yeah, it's great. Michelle Rodriguez is great.
Mm-hmm.
The actor who plays Goodwin is great.
The way they pass that knife back and forth.
Yeah, it's great. And it's it's good because it's so tense. And we already know the outcome of this. Goodwin's gonna end up dead and Ana Lucia is fine.
Right.
But it's still so scary when you're watching it.
Yeah. Because you're wondering what is gonna lead to this guy's death.
Yeah. And I mean, you could also argue that Ana Lucia wasn't 100% sure that Goodwin was an other, but I mean, Goodwin kind of confirms it. Like, he's the one who, I mean, he could have just sat there and denied the whole thing, but he's the one who finally drops the pretense and, starts telling her about the others and things like that.
Yeah, that's true.
Like, she didn't go in and hold a knife to his throat and was like, she's very cautious about it.
Yeah, it's just she was so gun-ho on Nathan on so little that it's like, if you had, all these things about Goodwin, why were you so quick to jump on the Nathan train?
Yeah, maybe, she's learning from past mistakes that obviously didn't end well, so.
It's true. The way she gathers this information from him is very careful and calculated and smart.
Yeah, she's such a badass. I love her in this scene.
Yeah. And Goodwin is so creepy, like the way he just turns.
Yeah.
His persona completely changes, and you can just, I don't know, he suddenly seems like really arrogant. Like, yeah. He knows so much and she knows nothing, and
yeah, it's a great turn. I love it.
That little line that he gives where he's like, Nathan wasn't a good person, that's why he wasn't on the list.
Yeah.
The children are fine, they're better off now. Like, those lines are so creepy.
Yeah. It's like they say so much and they say so little at the same time.
Yes, exactly. And this is exactly why people think that this is purgatory, is lines like that. Like that's where my brain goes. When you talk about somebody not being a good enough person, that's why they weren't on the list. And, taking the children and they're better off now. When someone says like, oh, they're better off now, I think of someone dying. Like, oh, they're in a better place now. That's what people like to say,
Very true.
And that's just the vibe I get. And I'm like, oh God, did he kill them?
Oh, that's such a good connection. I never think about that when I watch this scene. But, yeah, I'm always just like, what do you mean good person? Like, are the other people here not good people? What about the other people on the other side of the island? Are none of them good people? Like,
right. How did you know, like, the first night that they were there, who was good and who wasn't?
Yeah. Oh, makes no sense.
Oh, Lost.
Day 41, and Bernard is still trying to get a signal on the radio. He succeeds, and we get to hear the transmission Boone sent from the airplane he and Locke found in the jungle. Ana Lucia says it's the others trying to trick them. Bernard wants to believe there are other survivors out there, but Ana Lucia says there isn't anyone else, and this is their life now. Later on, she's sitting by herself and starts to cry. Echo comes up and speaks, telling her it's going to be okay. She wants to know why he's talking, and he responds it's been 40 days. He waited 40 days to talk, and she waited 40 days to cry. He holds Ana Lucia as she cries, and the scene fades.
So how discouraging is it to think Boone's death was so that he could talk to Bernard?
What a blow. Like, I feel like that was the one saving grace in his death. I was like, oh, well, maybe he got a message out there. Maybe help is coming.
Saved them all.
Exactly. No, he truly did die for absolutely nothing.
Yep. And that's just huge information casually tossed in there.
Yeah, it's so casual. Oh, what a bummer.
And we see the beginnings of this, like, hard, jaded Ana Lucia when she's telling Bernard, there are no survivors, this is our life now, get used to it.
Yeah.
Like, she's angry now. She's been betrayed, and she just is scared. So much of Ana Lucia is just fear.
Yeah, it's like well-founded fear. It's, I really like this scene between Echo and Ana Lucia.
Yeah.
They're the two, like, they've both killed 2 people since they've crash landed on this island. So, I don't know, I really like their connection.
Yeah. They have a unique connection because of that.
Yeah. Like, no one else in their group, as far as we know, has had to kill anyone, so.
Right. That's a sacrifice that you make for other people.
Yeah.
When you take that blood on your hands.
Yeah, and it's obviously taken a toll on both of them.
Yep.
It's day 45. Cindy and Libby are on the beach when they find a washed up and unconscious Jen. They blindfold and tie Jin to a tree, and Echo questions him. The tailies confer. Ana Lucia is convinced he's part of the others, but everyone else isn't so sure. Jin breaks free and takes off, running into Michael and Sawyer on the beach. Echo knocks them unconscious, and they're thrown into the pit. So yeah, I like that we get, this storyline, which we've already seen from the tailies' perspective.
I don't like it.
Why? Why not?
It just feels redundant. I don't, did we really learn anything?
No, but it's just so interesting because I remember that crazy moment at the end of Adrift when Michael and Sawyer wash up on the beach and Jin comes running out. Then you see these figures coming out of the jungle and it's so scary. And obviously, you're right. We don't learn anything new. We know they're, we're on the plane, but it's just so interesting to think about them running after Jin. And it's they were just, they were just scared because of everything they've gone through.
Yeah. These scenes where we get the kind of fast forwarded montagey version of, what Jen and Sawyer and Michael experienced, what we've already kind of seen. It just, I don't know. It bugs me. I'm we know all this. I don't want to see this again. It just feels sloppy. I don't know.
I disagree. It doesn't take very long, I don't think. And
no, it just, they kind of pop in and out of it. And the music is weird and it's so I don't know. I'm not sure what I'm supposed to feel. It's just, tonally I don't like it. I can't even explain why.
Okay.
I just don't like it, Randy.
Yeah, clearly not going to convince you how great this episode is. But anyway.
I don't even, I think you're right. It's well written. It just doesn't jive with me and I can't even fully articulate why.
Mm-hmm. Ana Lucia tells Echo to hit her. This way she can find out if Michael, Jin, and Sawyer are telling the truth. She gets thrown into the pit, and we get a montage of the last few episodes. On day 46, they are let out of the pit and taken to the hatch. On day 47, they start their hike across the island, and Sawyer falls ill. It's the last scene, and it's now present day 48. It's pouring, and Cindy has just been taken. The whispers start, and Shannon comes stumbling out, only to be shot by Ana Lucia. Everyone looks horrified and shocked. Saeed looks livid, and we cut to black. And that's it.
That's it. I might have liked it better if they had just ended on that scene with Echo and Ana Lucia. That's a really good scene. The rest just feels like it distracts me from the emotion of that.
I guess, but then they couldn't have called it the other 48 days.
Right.
We're getting a complete picture of what they were going through.
Yeah. Yeah. That's true.
And again, I feel like by the time I get to this last scene, and they show again how Ana Lucia shoots Shannon, it's just from a totally different perspective now, with all this knowledge that we didn't have before, all these details. Ana Lucia killed 2 people, she broke down with Echo, and it's just hits the point home again that this is not a black and white situation. What she did was wrong, but she was, like we've said, she was so scared, and with good reason.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and it bookends it nicely to get us right back to, where we left off.
Yeah. Oh, I think it's great. It's so well written.
I get it. I get why you like it.
Okay.
I think I always just love the questions in Lost, and when they're giving me the answers, it just feels wrong. It just feels like they're they're connecting too many dots, and I don't want it all filled in so perfectly and neatly. I don't like it when they try to answer every little thing. I didn't need to see the scene where Echo punches Ana Lucia. Like, I can figure that out myself, you know? Like, that's just...
It's just more details. Like, it just adds... I feel like you're so angry about how this ends, but it was literally, it's like the last 2 minutes of this episode.
But it's not just that. It's, you know, that's indicative of like the whole vibe. You know, there's a lot of scenes that are really interesting, but it's just, there are things that I just feel like I got it. I already felt like Ana Lucia was afraid. It's nice to see it, but I didn't need to.
Yeah, but it's like we didn't know she killed 2 people. I feel like the main purpose of this episode is the story with Goodwin.
Yeah.
And how they all trusted him and, you know, he was lying the whole time. Like, that's the most important part. That's the crucial part that we didn't know.
Yeah.
Because a few episodes ago, I mean, we knew he was dead, but, I mean, we always just assumed that the others killed him, not that he was one of them.
Yeah.
Like, Ana Lucia says they came and took, like, our people. They came twice. But the fact that one of them, you know, infiltrated their camp and was with them for weeks and weeks is, like, a totally different thing.
Mm-hmm. A totally different breach of trust.
Yeah. Yeah.
It definitely is. I get it.
Okay.
I do. This episode is probably completely necessary. I just don't like it. I just don't enjoy the ride. I don't know why.
I don't know either. Especially when it's written by Damon Lindelof and Carlton Cuse. I remember when I finished this, I was like, oh, Tiffany's mind is going to be completely changed. Clearly I was wrong.
Has your mind been changed about Ana Lucia? Because I feel like when we first started talking about her, you were like, I hate her. She's so annoying. But in this episode, you seem very, like, warm to her.
Yeah. This episode really does a lot to change my mind about her.
Yeah.
It's probably going to be changed back in the future episodes, but at this point, I am totally with her. I'm totally sympathetic to everything that she has had to go through.
Yeah. Yeah, I've never been higher on Ana Lucia than this episode.
Yeah.
And I wasn't, like, completely against her in the past. But
right.
This definitely gives you good context for why she is the way she is and why she makes the choices she does.
Yeah, which, again, is going to make next week's episode so much more interesting.
Yes.
You know, the more sympathetic we feel to her, or feel for her, you know, it's going to be fascinating. Because I know next week's episode is about her, but I don't remember really anything about it, so.
I remember.
Okay.
It's going to be fun.
So, were you able to think of a theme for this episode?
God, it was hard. It was really hard. Like, did you think it was hard in this one?
No, I did not think it was hard.
Really?
Whenever I like episodes, it's always very easy to think of a theme.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Maybe that's the difference.
Yeah. Yeah.
I thought it was difficult, just because, I don't know, I feel like we normally have multiple storylines happening, and when I look for what is happening with both of those, what do they have in common, that's kind of where I pull my theme from.
Yeah.
And in this one, it's just one story. So I said, how do you know who to trust? Because I think it's that broken trust that really affects Ana Lucia in particular, but
yeah,
kind of shades all of their perspective in a way.
Yeah, I almost wrote that down, so that's good.
What did you think?
So I think you're right that this episode probably isn't as philosophical as a lot of the other episodes of Lost, which that's personally not really what I come to Lost for, so that's fine with me. I don't know, this whole episode seems to be like talking about humanity So I thought the theme could be like you have to do whatever you can to hold on to your humanity.
Oh.
Yeah, because Goodwin talks about how, he tells Ana Lucia, we're not savages.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like it's not until that scene with Ana Lucia and Echo when she lets herself cry and he starts to talk again that they can both try and like move on from the terrible things that have happened to them.
Yeah.
So they're kind of like, especially Echo when he's starting to talk again, he's like coming back to his humanity in a way.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, but I love stories about end of the world, apocalyptic kind of thing. And that's what I feel like this story is, like deals with it in such a head-on way. Like we've talked about it with the other episodes, with the other side of the island, but the Taylors are in such a desperate situation and like they're having all these things happen to them like really quickly. I don't know. I just thought it was interesting.
Yeah, it's like, what do normal people do when they're put into a extraordinary circumstance?
Yeah, exactly.
And we see the toll that takes. And I mean, I feel like your theme really plays into next week and, well, next week and last week really nicely.
Mm-hmm.
With Ana Lucia, I feel like she has kind of shut off her humanity in a way.
Yeah.
Because, she's got this feeling of, her trust has been violated and she is just, I feel like that's why we get kind of a cold Ana Lucia when we first meet her. And she's just very authoritative and, we're doing this, this, and this. Mm-hmm. And it's that lack of humanity that causes her to kill Shannon.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's like, we'll have to see next week has she completely lost her humanity by killing Shannon or, it'll just be interesting to see how she reacts.
Like, I don't feel like she's completely lost it just because we have that scene where she's crying with Echo.
Right.
That's fairly recent.
Yeah.
So it's in there somewhere. It's just, she's so scared and she has this paranoia really running rampant, throughout this whole thing.
Yeah, for good reason, in my opinion. But
yeah, definitely with good reason. But she's letting it take over.
Yeah, she is. But again, if I was in that situation, I would have shot Shannon 100%. It's just so scary. Like, everything that's happened, it's raining, the whispers, Cindy just got taken. Anything running out of the jungle at me at that point is getting shot. Absolutely. 1000%. So.
See, I feel like in this episode, I'm all the more kind of annoyed that she did that because the way Shannon walks out of the jungle, she's not even running. If Shannon had been running at her full stop, I think I would have understood. But Shannon's like walking to the left, like slowly looking around and she gets shot. And I'm like, whoa, okay. I don't know why that happened. No. I mean, I get the fear and, the voices are crazy and, it's a lot, but.
It is a lot. Like.
That definitely would not have been my reaction. Okay. For the record.
Well, you're a better person than I am.
I think it's just like, what do you do when you're stressed? Like, do you act or do you withdraw? And I know that I withdraw. And that's not always a good thing. Like, my husband tells me all the time, like, what makes me a bad driver is that I hesitate. He's like, you hesitate too much and that can be dangerous. And sometimes you just need to go or, just merge, And I'm just like, I don't know. It's overthinking. And so I know I wouldn't be the one to like be trigger happy. I'd be the one who like took too long and missed my shot.
Yeah, that's true. I think this situation is more, it's definitely stressful, but I think it's more about how you react to fear.
Yeah.
And if you put me in a situation like that, I'm definitely shooting and asking questions later.
Yeah.
Like, I would never like go to like a haunted house or like spend a night somewhere like that, 'cause someone would get hurt.
You don't go to haunted houses?
No, absolutely not.
Oh my gosh,
dad,
you're right. I'm just remembering in college when we would go do scary things, you never came.
Hell no. No. Someone is gonna get hurt. That's why, I don't know, have you ever seen those YouTube videos where people jump out and scare people and they end up getting like punched in the face or like hit with a bat? It's like, yes, obviously, like, I don't know what you're expecting if you're running out at me and trying to scare me.
All right, this is good to know, Randy. In a fight or flight situation, you are fight.
Don't jump out at me. Alicia used to do it to me all the time. She would hide behind doors and she would think it was so funny when I would jump every time. Oh, it used to drive me crazy. I'm like getting stressed out just thinking about it. Anyway.
That's hilarious.
Oh, I hate it. I hate it so much. All right, guys. As always, thanks for hanging out with us this week. If you have any thoughts or comments on the show, please head over to iTunes where you can rate, review, and subscribe. To get more involved, you can check out our Instagram page at The Lost Podcast, or you can check us out on Facebook at Freckles and Blondie. If you feel like being super generous, you can find us on Patreon, where you can pledge $1 a month or whatever you can afford. Don't forget, when we hit our first goal, we get to have Lost watching parties with you guys.
With wine.
Yes. Lots of alcohol.
Wine not included. You're going to have to purchase your own.
Yeah. Please join us next week when we'll be discussing episode 8, Collision, where we deal with the fallout from Shannon's death.
Oh, it's going to be so good.
It's going to be great. Until then, I'm Randy.
I'm Tiffany.
And this has been Freckles and Blondie.